today I'm trying something new. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this because I surely am. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look into KSI, who's a famous YouTuber, and we're going to look at some of his Instagram photos and see if they have been photoshopped. This is the first time I'm doing this. It's not a tutorial, it's just a bit of fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, just hit the like button and let me know what you think about it. So I'm on KSI's Instagram and I'm just looking through some of his pictures now, and I can already see that they have been edited by a professional artist or photoshopper, because I'm pretty sure that KSI doesn't do it himself anymore. He probably is capable, but he doesn't need to do it because he's got so much money, obviously. So let's just take a look. So I've picked our first image here. Looking at this, obviously it's a nice image, it's nice colours, everything's laid out already. So a photographer would have laid all this out, obviously, just to get this shot perfectly, and they would have told the man here on the right, point the remote at the TV, and KSI's laughing as he's eating. Obviously he is capturing an emotion. The photographer's done well there, but what I want to just point out is this colour here. Obviously you don't just get that from a lighting effect, you get that from increasing saturation. As you can see, it gets darker and it blends into more of a contrasting yellow, and then obviously there's bits of color that are like highlights that have been added over here, or it's been done by lighting. Now there's two effects you can do here. You can either add saturation or you can increase the brightness on certain areas of the design, but that's all for this image. I think it looks really nice, it's done really well, but obviously if you've got an eye for it, you can see the changes like me. Now moving on our next image here. Pretty cool image, nice build in the background, nice bit of sky. As you can see though, this guy he's been quite saturated and he looks quite bright for me, and the hair looks a bit off, and this building is really crisp. So unless you've taken this with a good camera, which he probably has, by doing this with Photoshop you can increase the saturation and basically blend the image a bit better. I think it looks great, but I do see hints of Photoshop in there. Like the red is very vibrant for the focus which is on KSI, and this red's popping out, which it should because the camera's focusing on him. These people in the background are very vibrant, and I just don't see how you get that look from just taking a normal photo, unless it's been photoshopped. The sky is looking alright. It doesn't look too photoshopped, to be honest. That's fair enough. It looks blended really well, but I do think that there are parts of this image that have been photoshopped. So zoom in a bit here, there's like areas that have been contrasted, and then these people here have definitely been photoshopped, like to look brighter, because they've probably added something to brighten KSI up, but it's also brightened them up because the jeans are they look so dark compared to KSI and saturated. So I think this is definitely a Photoshop. Now moving on to our next image. This has definitely been photoshopped. As you can see, they have added a blur on the fence at the front, and obviously layer masked out the people because it's all focused out. Unless you've done this with a camera, which fair enough, but still, there's definitely been more Photoshop going on. As you can see, these guys are very saturated, very high color, so there's going to be a lot of camera raw filter going on in this design, because if you increase the texture, you can see this better. Obviously, you can see all the texture on the floor, and you can see all the people's faces, the texture on their face. There's many different elements of this design which have been edited. I'm just going to say that right now. I love KSI, but he has edited this image for sure. Not him himself, but he's probably had somebody do it professionally for him. It looks great, but obviously you can tell if you're looking properly. Like, look at the texture on that smoke just coming off his hand. You can see it all just by using camera raw filter, which I've shown you in other designs. You can increase the texture and saturation really hard, and you can play around with the colors so they blend better. So I definitely would say this has been edited, but it looks great. So I haven't seen any images yet that have been edited don't look great. This one is pretty clear to me. Moving on to our next image. This is a bit more of a serious one, and if you've seen my previous videos, I've been talking about exposure and lighting effects. Now this has definitely been used in this image. Obviously it would have been dark in the studio when he took this image, but obviously adding a gamma correction through exposure can darken your image but increasing the highlights as well. So he probably would have used a layer mask to darken over the left side and then maybe lighten over the right side, do subtle highlights on his body. Now the camera is facing a side on angle, and obviously he's got some lighting coming in from the side which is creating this effect. By manipulating this image through exposure and probably a bit of brightness and contrast, he has made this a really effective image, and it's popped really well with the background. Obviously you can see any bits of his face, but it's still satisfying enough that you want to like the image. using Photoshop is quite a good way of manipulating a body image, because a lot of people use it to make the body more defined and more like contrasting. This is definitely a photoshopped image. I'm a big fan of it though. Great work. Now, we all know that Logan Paul and KSI had a fight. Thank God KSI won. It was a good fight, but I have to say, when I was looking at the images at the time, I was seeing a lot of Photoshop stuff. Now, this is just a basic image. Let me tell you, if you just took this with a normal camera, it would not look this dark on his part of his body and so contrasting with the rest of his body. Same with Logan, really. There's like, obviously they're defined, but still you can increase the contrast and the texture by using a camera raw filter to blend this image a lot better. If I zoom in on just his body, even the tattoo, it's very contrasting, and the background here is very deep in color. Obviously it would be deep in color when you're there, but obviously for a camera lens it would probably lose some of that saturation. So he's definitely used a saturation on this, and he's definitely used a camera raw filter to increase the texture of the body and increase the contrast of the overall image. So as you can see, these black dresses are standing out on the women, and obviously the blue ones stand out in the background. But obviously if you look away and then look at the image, you look straight at KSI's body, because that is what's contrasting most with the background. I think this is done really well. Like, it takes somebody who uses Photoshop a lot to know the difference. I don't know if you guys saw the difference. Let me know in the comments. Just testing out theories, really. But I think if you asked him one-to-one, he would definitely say this image has been Photoshopped. He might not even know, but I think it has, because there's no way through a camera that you would be able to make all of this pop so much from the background. Right, guys, I think that's it for this video. Just trying something new, just looking at some of the images. I can do this with other famous artists if you would like. Just leave it in the comment. I could turn it into a bit of a series. I don't mind looking at famous people's art, Instagrams, and basically picking holes in them, I guess you could say, figuring out how they did this and how they manipulated it. There's many other photos on here that I could choose. If you want me to see a part 2, I can do it. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.